We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do us well, subscribe to our channel, smash the like button if you like our content, share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this college football's rebel outpost, the home for the college football sickos. With a donation, help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Just hit that $sign where you make your comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. It is November 5th, the day after the playoff selection committee made their rankings. We're going to go through them. I could not do a live show last night. I had multiple scheduling conflicts. I was fortunately able to stay up with what was going on. I tweeted out my comments, very short comments, about my first initial thoughts on the rankings. I want to hear what you all got to say. I know there was a bunch of college football YouTube channels covering this last night. I could not do it, but we're covering it today in the 1 o'clock Eastern noon hour because we got to talk about it. Very interesting. I don't think it was too crazy wrong. I think there's a few things that really popped out at me. I think the Miami Hurricanes were treated a little harshly. I think the Louisville Cardinals have been treated a little harshly since the beginning of the season when it came to the AP voters. And now with the playoff committee. But I think overall it went pretty good. The Southeastern Conference is looking very strong to get 5 teams in. Maybe they get a 6. I don't think so. Maybe they get 4. I don't think so. I think the Southeastern Conference is looking at 5, maybe 4. The Big Ten is looking at 3. There's an outside shot at 4. There's an outside shot they get 2 teams in. But it looks like the Big Ten is sitting at about 3. The Big 12 has a very good shot to get 2 teams in. And an outside shot to get a 3rd team in. And a little bit of a shot to get only 1 team in. But 2 to 3 for the Big 12. The ACC is looking at either 1 or 2, most likely 1. No G5 team was ranked in the top 25. Memphis, as we have, they've got a slight advantage. They're going to have to win out. They're going to have to win out. They're going to have to win the American. They're going to have to win out. Memphis has a bad loss, and it's affecting them. But it looks like they're going to be, if they win out, they're going to be the team in the playoffs. A couple big major talking points last night. D5 Terps, loser of the BYU Texas Tech is out. I don't agree. I don't agree. I think BYU can lose and still make the playoffs. Okay. The question is, if BYU doesn't lose to anybody other than the Red Raiders, or can BYU make it in as an 11-2 team with 2 losses to the Texas Tech Red Raiders? That is going to be the question. That is going to be the question. And the Red Raiders, are they going to be able to make the playoffs as a well, they're going to make the playoffs. We'll get into it. I don't necessarily believe that is. Maynard says the Big 12 won't get into it. I think there's a chance. Jared Jones, the SEC won't get 5. 4 is max. I do think they have a shot at 5. Bracket Cat says the Big 10 won't get more than 3. There's an outside shot. There is. Very outside shot. Very outside shot. Because if Oregon wins out, if Indiana wins out and loses in the Big Ten championship game, if the Buckeyes win out and lose in the Big Ten championship game, those are 3 teams in. But if you've got Michigan beating the Buckeyes, they're in. If you got USC running the table and Oregon only loss is to USC going forward, a 10-2 Oregon, a 10-2 USC, they both might squeeze in. We don't know. There's a lot of possibility. Lots of possibility. There's a possibility the Big Ten only gets 2. I agree. Thank you for the super chat, Mr. Doc Gibbs. Appreciate it. Thank you for the $5 holler, Doc Gibbs. I very much appreciate your generosity. Thank you for starting us off today. Let's start off with this. There was an elections last night. Any reaction to the Virginia election and the Virginia's hopes of SEC realignment? Let's start with this, okay? And then we'll talk about the college football playoff reaction. I do have a reaction. And that reaction is shared by many. Many people that are not going to talk about it. Many people that are not going to touch that rail. They're not going to touch that hot iron. They're not going to touch that hot stove. But I'm going to go ahead and touch it. It has a great effect. And it is going to show up. That Virginia election last night, the governor, I think it's Spanberger, the Democratic candidate, won, going away, and Jay Jones, the Attorney General, won the election, a Democrat. Both of them went to the University of Virginia. Spanberger graduated at Virginia and Purdue University. The reaction is this. Faculty, the University of Virginia faculty, who were going to be against the Virginia going to the SEC if that opportunity arises, and the new permanent president, along with the Board of Visitors, flipped the switch, pulled the trigger on that. The faculty was going to be totally against it, but it was probably not going to be to no avail. Now it probably will be successful. In other words, the faculty at the University of Virginia is going to be supported by the new governor and the new attorney general when they come into office. The Southeastern Conference ability to get Virginia, which is the target, one of the top two targets for the presidents, the ability for the Southeastern Conference to get Virginia has been mostly crushed. The Southeastern Conference is going to have about a 5-month window. A 5-month window before the Board of Visitors, the 24-person panel, is about to change. 4 or 5 at a time. The Board of Visitors, the new people that are going to be coming on in, are not going to have the same, they're not going to hold the same interest as those who are in the Board of Visitors right now. In other words, those who would have been committed, supported, been all right with the University of Virginia, joining the Southeastern Conference, those people are about to leave the scene. It is going to be mighty, mighty difficult for the Southeastern Conference to be able to politically pull this off. They've had a chance, but there's been a lot of other things going. There is no way the Southeastern Conference could have pulled the trigger on this, because there's so many out there. There's so many other things that are going on in college football and college sports. The SCORE Act. We just got word that Cody Campbell now supports the SCORE Act, knowing he wants the SCORE Act to pass in the House of Congress, knowing that there's going to be compromise in the Senate. He wants that Broadcasting Act part of it in there. There is so much going on, ladies and gentlemen, that there was no way that the Southeastern Conference could have expanded since what happened in the court between Florida State, Clemson, and the ACC. There is no way. There is no way the Southeastern Conference could have acted. There is no way that the Big Ten could have acted. That's why we keep saying nothing is imminent. Nothing is done. Nothing is settled. But there is a whole lot of activity going on, a whole lot of positioning going on. Well, the positioning has completely changed. Well, I should say almost completely changed. The chances here at PATC on April 9th, 2025, we made a prediction, not a report. We made our prediction here at PATC that the SEC would scoop up North Carolina, Virginia, and most likely make it a big scoop by adding Clemson and Florida State. I got a feeling that on April 9th of 2026, I ain't going to be making that same prediction again. And look, we occupy a lot of time here at Peek Around the Corner in understanding what is happening on the ground, because we know that it's very important. What is happening on the ground at the University of Virginia is about to change. And it's going to be very difficult for the Southeastern Conference to get Virginia. So what does that mean? Well, that means that the University of Virginia, remember those reports that came out, remember that UNC North Carolina 247 report that came out that said Carolina was very aggressive. I'm paraphrasing. I don't have the exact words. My apologies. But the North Carolina 247 report saying that North Carolina was the most aggressive, and along with Clemson. And there was a report, somebody else came out and said at that report saying, and I forget the gentleman's name, a reporter said that he believes that Virginia was going to be on their way to the Big Ten. And we had a Virginia official, remember? We were able to contact this Virginia official after the Virginia Tech money perch gave us the connection, and the Virginia official said to us, and we reported to you, that the timing probably ain't going to work out for the Southeastern Conference, that Virginia is probably going to slip away from them. It all seems to be coming true. It all seems to be going in that direction. So what does that all mean? Well, if Virginia is not can't be part of the Southeastern Conference plans, that means the Southeastern Conference plans are going to have to change. That means the Southeastern Conference plans are going to have to change. And we're going to continue to follow the story. But it might be a North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, Duke possibility. Or maybe a North Carolina, Clemson possibility to the Southeastern Conference. But Virginia, in this landscape where nothing seems to be happening, but there is a lot going on, Virginia is slipping away from the Southeastern Conference. The question is, a lot of questions. The question is, does that mean Virginia, as they slip away politically from the Southeastern Conference, are they leaning back towards possibly maybe being a Big Ten member 2, 3, 4 years from now? We're going to have to talk about that more than we've ever talked about it before. We've said here at Peek Around the Corner, we're not shutting the door to anything because nothing is done, nothing is settled, and this is a great example of that. The Southeastern Conference had the advantage when it comes to getting their top 2 targets, North Carolina and Virginia. That advantage when it comes to Charlottesville, Virginia, that advantage is slipping away. And for Virginia Tech, the elections did not go their way. The Attorney General candidate, the incumbent, lost, and now he's not going to provide a check when it comes to whatever Virginia does, if it involves Virginia Tech, if it doesn't involve Virginia Tech, if Virginia's decision is in a vacuum or not in a vacuum. People's perception that we've talked to, the money purchase, the chatter behind the curtain, is that Virginia's new leadership coming in January with the Board of Visitors probably it's going to mirror the governor's interest in the years ahead, in the next year ahead, that the Board of Visitors, the governor, and the Attorney General and the Virginia state houses are all going to be aligned, and whatever the University of Virginia does in Virginia Tech has probably lost at least some of the ability to get involved, to tangle it all up. But we're going to follow that story in the months and years ahead. Okay. All right. So we've covered that. But we are here to cover the college football playoff rankings. We got another super chat. Greg, you know it just means more in the SEC. The SEC will get 5, the Big Ten 3, the ACC 1, the Big 12 1, the G5 1, and Notre Dame. Thank you for your $5 holler, Ryan Willie. Thank you for your generosity, your support, and your friendship. Thank you, Evil Badger, Ryan Willie. Again, this is my projections. And, I got BYU a slight favorite over Vanderbilt to get that 10th spot. And I've got Texas Tech getting the 4th spot, because I think the Red Raiders are going to sweep BYU in 2 very good games. This game coming up Saturday and the Big 12 championship game. And I still got BYU in it. So I got Big 12 with I don't know. It's going to be most likely what you've got written down there, Ryan Willie, or it's going to be the SEC with 4 and the Big 12 with 2. Although there is a chance that the Big 10 only gets 2. But that is the most likely scenario that you have put down there, Ryan Willie. I very much appreciate it. We're going to go to what was reported last night here in a little bit. Kenneth Maynard, I very much appreciate the super chat, my friend. Kenneth Maynard, super chat. Duke could join North Carolina as a partner and fit like a glove in the SEC alongside Florida State and Clemson. Blend of new footprint, academics, basketball, and football. That could be the blend. That could be the blend of the big scoop for the SEC. It could be. I tell you what, here in 2026, the discussion is going to change. The discussion is going to change on Virginia. It already has. But it's going to become more apparent that the University of Virginia just will not be aligned. It will not have the support internally, politically, even with North Carolina political coverage. Most likely, Virginia is not going to be able to be gotten by the Southeastern Conference. But we are going to continue to report the information that we get. We'll continue to give you all, to try to give you the best peek around the corner that there is. But that election had an impact on conference affiliation, conference realignment in the future on what happened last night. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard. I very much appreciate it. Expedition Greg, Mr. Buckeye, thank you so much for the gifted membership. Kevin, I do not know how to pronounce that last name. I apologize. Kevin Haru, Haro. I don't know how to say it. I apologize, Kevin. When you get a chance, Kevin, please say thank you to Expedition Greg for his generosity. Both of you are knighted. Cloak and dagger. Cloak and dagger. Okay. Let me see if I gotten all caught up here. Yes, I have. Let's get to it. Let's talk about it. Kevin, can you let me know how to pronounce your last name in the chat room? Try to do the best you can. Let me know how to pronounce your last name. Okay. So the rankings came out last night. The first one I saw was Tennessee at 25. Yeah. Well, I guess, but if they're going to be ranked, they should be ranked 25th. I'm not all that. I think Tennessee is. I don't think Tennessee has a shot to get to the playoffs. They're not a playoff team, in my opinion. Pittsburgh at 24, I believe, is a very good ranking for the Panthers. I think they actually deserve this ranking. And I think they've got a shot to get to the college football playoffs. There's no question about it. 24, that's a good spot. Washington, no problem at 23. Missouri, no problem at 22. Michigan at 21 and Iowa at 20. I actually agree with that. Iowa ahead of Michigan, Iowa ahead of Missouri, Iowa ahead of Washington. I actually agree with that ranking. USC at number 19. USC is a threat. They are a threat. They are a threat to Oregon. We'll talk about that later. Miami at 18. Now, whoo! Miami at 18, Louisville at 15, Virginia at 14. Miami, that's a little harsh. That's a little harsh. But there is one point that I agree with the committee on. There's been a lot of comments on X, on message boards, on a few people texting me. You know, Miami defeated Notre Dame in week 1. We did a watch party on that game. Great game, Miami, great victory. So there's a lot of consternation on how can Notre Dame be ahead of Miami? Or if they are ahead of Miami, why are they 8 spots ahead of Miami? And my answer to that is because you can't compare Notre Dame and Miami. Or at least you can't compare them in a vacuum. You have to compare Notre Dame and Miami with Texas, Oklahoma, Utah, Virginia, Louisville, Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, USC, Iowa, Michigan. All of that has to be in the mix. Head-to-head is very important. Very important, crucial metric. And Miami has the advantage. Miami has the advantage. But that can't be the only metric. Not when you're grouping a batch of teams together and you're comparing them. And to me, even with that head-to-head advantage that Miami has, Notre Dame comes out ahead, in my opinion. I think Notre Dame should be ranked ahead of Miami. If it was just those two teams, like in a division standings, yes, Miami gets the nod head-to-head. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about resumes, eye test, for a bunch of teams together. So, in that aspect, I believe Notre Dame should be ahead of Miami. But no question, Miami has been treated a little harshly here. And the head of the committee said that it was Miami's consistency, struggling on offense. And I would agree with all that as well. Louisville, to me, is even the more interesting team in this. The Louisville Cardinals, to me, now nobody else in the PATC family is going to defend the Louisville Cardinals. But I will. I think they have been grossly undervalued when it came to the AP voters all year long. Grossly undervalued. And I think they're a little bit undervalued in this college football rankings. Let me show you guys something. And I cannot wait to get to your phone calls, to the rest of your comments and super chats, because I really want to hear what you guys think about all this. Look at this. They defeated James Madison, who is going to be one of the top couple of teams in the G5 rankings when it comes to getting a CFP berth. Okay? That's a good win against James Madison. They beat Pittsburgh, which is a good win, and it's going to be a much better win on the road at Pittsburgh. That win is going to get better and better and better because Pittsburgh Panthers ain't slowing down. They lost to Virginia by 3. They beat Miami by 3. Boston College, Virginia Tech, and now they're home against California, Clemson, at SMU that just defeated Miami, and then Kentucky. But if you look at it, 7-1, they've got to win against Pittsburgh and Miami, and they've lost to Virginia. There was also, and for whatever reason, I failed to bookmark it. But there were, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to try to find it. I am going to try to find this. Please let me find it. Okay, I found it. Okay, okay. All right, bear with me here. Bear with me. Now listen to this. You know, they're using the metrics, right? They're using these metrics, strength of schedule. They're leaning on the metrics more and more. They're looking at the analytics more and more, and that's all fine and good. Go ahead and use it. Of course, you've got to use it. It's part of the resume. For me, you use that, and you've also have the eye test, right? You've also have the eye test that the metrics sometimes don't pick up. If you're going to do this now, if you're going to do this 12-team playoff, 5+7, 16-team playoff, 5+11, you guys know I want the AQ model with a 6-team at-large bid. I want a 24-team playoff. But if you're going to do this, you're going to have to look at these analytics and all this stuff. Okay. Take a look at this. Team A, Team B. Team A, number 10th in strength of record. Team B, number 13th strength of record. Team A, number 58th in strength of schedule. Team B, number 56 in strength of schedule. Team A, 1 win versus SP top 40. 3 wins. Team B, 3 wins versus SP top 40. Team A, best win versus committee's number 13th team. Best win versus committee's number 18th team. Team A, 1 lone loss versus unranked team. Team B, lone loss to committee's number 14 team. If you take a look at it, slight edge to Team B. Slight edge to Team B. Who is Team A and who is Team B? Team B with a slight edge over Team A. Whoops. I screwed that up. Hold on. Here it is. This is basically a coin flip. Though given the additional wins versus high-level opponents and a better loss, it would be hard to argue against Team B, right? Add to that, Team B's lone loss came in double overtime in a game when it outgained its opponent by 150 yards. Surely you would be on Team B's side right now, right? Well, not surprisingly, Team B is Louisville. Team A is Texas Tech, ranked 7 spots higher at number 8. So if you're looking at the analytics of it, Louisville is, again, I think a little bit undervalued in these rankings. But my eye test, I've watched a lot of Louisville football. I've watched a lot of Texas Tech football. I think Texas Tech is nasty good on defense. No, let me correct myself. Nasty great on defense. So I have no problem with Texas Tech being ahead of Louisville. I've got no problem with it. I would have voted Texas Tech ranked ahead of Louisville. Okay? But I would not have Louisville behind Utah. I would not even have Louisville behind Oklahoma. I'm not even sure I would have Louisville behind Oregon. But I just want to look. Louisville is closer. They've got a shot to get to the playoffs, obviously. If they win the ACC, if they beat Duke or Georgia Tech, whoever in the ACC they are in. But Louisville is a much better, stronger team. Louisville should definitely be ahead of Utah. Now, that's what Kenneth Maynard is saying. Now, let's take a look at Utah. Utah has become BYU's greatest friend. That's right. The Holy War. Utah is BYU's greatest friend. It is fantastic news for the BYU Cougars that the Utah Utes have been dominating. Let's take a look at, because I think that might propel BYU and a large bid, even if they get swept by the Red Raiders. Let's take a look at the Utah Utes. Dominated UCLA, Cal Poly, Wyoming, lost to Texas Tech, dominated West Virginia, dominated Arizona State, lost to BYU in a great game on the road. And that was a great game. I said it at the time. Dominated Colorado, dominated Cincinnati. Do you know who Utah reminds me of this year? You know who Utah reminds me of this year? a little bit. They remind me of Indiana last year. Not the way they play the football game, but they've dominated people week in, week out, week in, week out. They are passing the eye test. That loss to BYU, I said it. I came on here and I said that was a great game. BYU gained a lot with that win. Utah did not lose. They lost a little bit with that loss, but that was a great football game. And the committee sees it. The committee sees it. The committee sees it. Now, would I have Utah at 13? Maybe not. But BYU against Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas, if they sweep those games, and they're at 10-2, then I think they're knocking on the door and they may be in the playoffs. They definitely may be in the playoffs. If BYU and Texas Tech split their next two games, if BYU and Texas Tech splits their next two games and Utah wins 3 games in blowout fashion, then yeah, Utah, I think, is in the playoffs. How about them apples? I think they're in the playoffs. I think they're in over Vanderbilt. Or whoever is going to be that 5th SEC team. They might be in over Oregon, over a 10-2 Oregon, if Oregon slips up. They might be in over a 10-2 USC. I think they would be. I think they definitely would be. So I think Utah, that's why I think Big 12 has a good chance of getting 2 and a chance of getting 3 teams in. They've got dominated by at home against Tech, no question about it. They did. They did, and that's why they're not in the top 10. We've got a super chat here from Kenneth Maynor, the ECU Pirate. Kenneth Maynor calling it. East Carolina will beat Memphis next week in Greenville and knock them out of the playoffs. ECU has won the last 2 versus the Tigers. Thank you, Kenneth Maynor, for the $5 holler. It is booked. It is bookmarked. It is absolutely bookmarked, Kenneth Maynor. We've got the Pirates over the Tigers. Maybe we'll have that as one of our picks against the spread. Maybe. Keep an eye on that tomorrow, Wednesday. Maybe. Thank you, Kenneth Maynor. I appreciate the super chat. East Carolina is not out of it. No question about it. No question about it. Kenneth Maynor, we all know some SEC or Big Ten is going to jump Utah or Louisville. Maybe. Possibly. Now, MBM said Oregon's best win is Northwestern. Okay, let's take a look at Oregon. I agree with MBM to a point. I can never totally agree with the Cowboy from Oklahoma State. Let's take a look at this their record here. Montana State, Oklahoma State, Northwestern 34-14. Oregon State, they beat a down Penn State, but they beat them on the road. They only lost to Indiana by 10 at home, and they blew out Rutgers. They beat Wisconsin. I have no problem. None. I'm of 2 minds of this. I've got no problem if people had Louisville ahead of Oregon, Texas ahead of Oregon, Virginia ahead of Oregon, even maybe Utah ahead of Oregon. I would have no problem with that. And a lot of Duck fans are going to get upset with me because we both know they are going to truck my Golden Gophers. However, Oregon has Oregon, if they win out, they're going to the playoffs, obviously. If they go 3-1, they're probably going to go to the playoffs. If you take a look at the rest of the schedule, they've got at Iowa. That's gonna be a ball game. That Iowa Hawkeye offensive line is now working as a machine. They got 2 future All-Americans. The Hawkeyes are for real, and they are coming. And then 6 days later, the Oregon Ducks are going to be playing my Gophers at home. And then they're playing USC at home. And then they're on the road to Washington. If they go 4-0, they're going to be, ranked 5 or 6 in the country at 11-1. If they go 10-2, most likely they make the playoffs. It's going to be a battle between Oregon, Utah, Vanderbilt, that type of situation. Okay, so that is Oregon. Now before we get to your phone calls, Oregon at Minnesota, the biggest trap game of the year. Yeah. So far, Minnesota has lost to the Buckeyes 42-3 on the road. The Gophers have lost to the Hawkeyes 42-3 on the road. My predicted score that Friday night is going to be a 42-3 victory for the Oregon Ducks. Nicholas Lemo, any Big Ten team going 10-2 is going to make the playoffs. Most likely. I don't think it's absolutely a fait accompli. I think Iowa, if they go 10-2, they're in. I think if Oregon goes 10-2, they're close. They're pretty much in. Pretty much in. I just want to take a look here, real quick here. If you take a look at USC, they have lost to Illinois, and they have lost to Notre Dame. So if Notre Dame finishes 10-2, and Notre Dame is 9 spots ahead of USC right now, they're not going to get the spot again over Notre Dame, obviously. Their play Iowa, Oregon. Wow. A 10-2 USC is going to be in the mix. No question about it. Okay. Now let's take a look. Yep, absolutely. Oregon, Iowa, USC all play each other. All play each other. Okay, now let's take a look at what the playoffs would look like if it ended right now. The Buckeyes, number 1. Again, they were ranked number 1 in the playoff rankings here. This is based upon the committee's playoff rankings of last night. The Buckeyes would be number 1. Indiana would get the 2 spot. Texas A&M would get 3, and Bama would get number 4. Number 5 would be Georgia. Number 6 would be Ole Miss. Number 7 would be BYU. Number 8, Texas Tech. Number 9, Oregon. And number 10, Notre Dame. 11, Virginia. 12, Memphis. So there's a couple of things. Even though we've got a long ways to go, we've got 4 weeks left. 3 games from many of the teams. We know that the G5 representative is probably going to get the 12th seed. Right? Can we all agree on that? Can we all agree on that? And the 11th seed, most likely, not definitely, but most likely is going to be occupied by the ACC champion. Now, there is a chance that the ACC champion, like a Virginia runs the board, or Georgia Tech runs the board, and they finish 12-1, and maybe they would sneak ahead of a 10-2 Notre Dame, right? Or maybe they would sneak ahead of an 11-2 BYU, or a 11-2 Texas Tech, or whatever. There's a chance that the ACC champion could get the 10th seed, maybe even the 9th seed. But I don't think there is much of a chance, no disrespect to the Louisville team that I really, really like, the Duke team that I think is going to win it now, the Miami team is loaded with talent. I don't think the ACC champion, unless it's a 12, how do I say this? I think the one ACC champion who's got the highest ceiling when it comes to the rankings would be Louisville. But the chances of the ACC champion having a first round home game is not very likely at all. So, the G5 representative 12th seed, most likely. The 11th seed, most likely the ACC champion, but they got a shot at the 10th seed. Kenneth Maynard believes the Cardinals, if they win out, they could get the 8th seed. I would agree. I think there might be a chance of that. Notre Dame at the 10th seed. Notre Dame may not move from that spot. To be honest with you guys, how much further higher up can Notre Dame move? Right? I mean, how much further up could they possibly move? I don't think they can move up from that. Maybe a 9th? Because the other conference teams and the other, playing in conference championship games and whatnot, they're going to be possibly do-si-doing with each other. But Notre Dame, to me, doesn't really have much to go. The Pittsburgh game is going to be fascinating to watch. Let's take a look at the Notre Dame schedule. Navy, Syracuse, Stanford. Okay? No disrespect to those three teams, but those are going to be cupcakes. It's that at Pittsburgh game. Can Notre Dame win that game and get a little bit more juice out of that? Yes, they can. So I guess Notre Dame can move up a little bit. But that is going to be Pittsburgh, man. They are the real deal Holyfield. They're playing very good football. They got a very good freshman quarterback. They've got skill players. They've got great linebackers. Panthers have got great linebackers. That's not a fluke what they're doing. Yes, they've lost early in the season. Yes, they really should not be ranked higher than number 24 right now. But Pittsburgh still has that outside shot to get to the ACC championship game and win it and be the 11th seed in the playoffs. Okay, let's get back to what it would look like if the season ended. Okay, so Notre Dame at number 10. Maybe they can move up. Boy, I think it's it's going to be a challenge for the Irish to have a home game in the first round. Notre Dame is going to be rooting for USC to win out. They're hurt Oregon, right? They're hurt Iowa. Just like BYU is rooting for Utah because it keeps BYU, that becomes a greater and greater win for BYU. Notre Dame is going to be rooting for USC to win out. Number 9, Oregon. We've talked about Oregon. Right now, they'd be a 9th seed. I've got them projected at finishing number 8. At the beginning of the season, I think I had them as the number 11 or 10 team in the playoffs. But Oregon has a schedule in which I think if they go 3-1, they're probably going to squeak in. And if they go 4-0, they're going to probably get a first-round home. They're definitely going to get a first-round home game. So Oregon has a lot to gain the next 4 games, unlike Notre Dame. Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, I think they're going to win out. I think they're going to win the rest of the games until they come into the quarterfinals, as I've got them predicted to get the 4th seed. I think the Red Raiders, as long as Baron Morton is healthy, I think they're going to shine for the rest of the season. And I think they're going to force the playoff committee to put them number 4 when it's all said and done. If they don't get number 4, they're going to get 5 or 6, and they're going to get a first-round home game, the Red Raiders. Now, if the Red Raiders split with BYU, I think the Red Raiders are in. There's no way you're going to not have an 11-2 Red Raiders team not make these playoffs. No way. It ain't happening. They're too good. They have passed the eye test. BYU. There's no way if BYU splits with the Red Raiders that they're not going to be in the playoffs. Of course they're going to be in the playoffs. As long as they split. Now, if there's a sweep either way, now it gets a little tricky. I've got BYU losing both games. And now it becomes a coin flip between BYU and Vanderbilt. And possibly a Louisville team and others. But that's how I have it right now. We go to number 7, BYU. Same story with Texas Tech. No way. A Red Raider Cougar split, both are in the playoffs. In my strongly held opinion. Both teams have shown enough, done enough, and they're going to be able to do enough going forward. Both teams are going to make the playoffs. Big 12, most likely going to have 2 teams in the playoffs. There's a chance for 3 with Utah, and there's only a slight chance for only having 1 team in if BYU gets swept and if both games are not competitive, something like that. That would hurt the Cougars. Number 6, Ole Miss. I don't see them moving. Do you see them moving? Do you see Ole Miss moving? I don't. I do not. I don't think they're going to be able to make it to the SEC championship game. I don't think they're going to move above Georgia. Maybe we'll have a Memphis Ole Miss game, a James Madison Ole Miss game, an East Carolina Ole Miss game, a North Texas Ole Miss game. But I think it's going to be the American or James Madison against Georgia, 5-12. And then Ole Miss is going to be playing against the ACC champion. Duke, Louisville, Miami, Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh. Right now it's looking Virginia. So I think right now it's a kind of a solid 6-11 Ole Miss versus the ACC championship. Georgia versus the American champion or James Madison. I don't know. There's a chance you might have BYU, Texas Tech playing against each other in the first round if they split those last 2 games. And then Alabama, the Buckeyes, A&M, and Indiana. I can't. I don't think in 11-2 Alabama is a surefire number 4 team. I get it. They've beaten a lot of ranked teams. I get it. But if Alabama gets their doors blown off by Texas A&M, which I don't think is going to happen, but if they get their doors blown off in the SEC championship game and the Red Raiders plaster BYU twice and they beat the other team in Texas, if the Red Raiders go 12-1, there might be a shot that the Texas Tech Red Raiders get number 4. I've got that as the number 4. I might change it after this week, of course. So Alabama number 4, I get it. I just don't think it's locked in. But the Buckeyes, Texas A&M, and Indiana, boy, oh boy, I think all those 4 are a lock. I think we're looking at, I think we're pretty much looking at the first round teams, the teams that are going to get a first round bye. And I also think that, again, we said it last year. We'll see what happens this year. Will the teams in the first round struggle? The teams that have first round byes, will they struggle this year like they did last year? I'm going to say probably not. I don't think, I think we probably overemphasized teams having the first round bye hurting them. But, we'll see what happens this year. This is the second year of the 12-team playoffs. It sure sounds like next year we're going to have the 12-team playoffs. I love this 12-team playoffs. I think there's a better option, but I love this 12-team playoffs. No question about it. We've got a super chat. Cope, Boomer, Sooner, and Forks Up, have a great day. Thank you. I appreciate your support, Cope. Your $5 holler. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you so very much. We got to talk about Oklahoma. We're going to talk about Oklahoma next. We're going to talk about the next couple of teams that are just out of the playoffs after the first release of the college football playoff rankings. We're going to talk about the Sooners and the Longhorns and a few other teams here in a little bit. Thank you, Cope. I appreciate your $5 holler. Ryan Willie, super chat. Ryan Willie, Notre Dame's schedule is quilted northern south. Thank you, Ryan Willie. Thank you for your $5 holler. I very much appreciate it. I don't know if it's the good time to pick on the Irish, Evil Badger. Don't you play the Irish in Lambeau Field at the beginning of next season? I think you should take the temperature down a little bit between the Irish and the Badgers. Just take it down until after that game is played. Ryan Willie, do not give the Fighting Irish any bulletin material. That would be my advice to you, but the Eva Badger will not be denied. Thank you for the $5 holler. Thank you for your generosity, Ryan Willie. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Not a certainty that James Madison quality wins and strength of schedule will be respected enough by the committee to pass any American champion. I don't know about any American champion, but most of the possible American champions. I would agree with that. I still think James Madison is definitely in play because they had a very good loss. Very good loss. Who was Utah's biggest win against? Cincinnati, Arizona State. Not really a great resume for them after losing to BYU and Texas Tech. Grayson Ganoush. I get that. I understand that. But I don't agree with it. I get it. Strength of schedule. What are your big wins? But if you're knocking off your opponent and you're crushing them week after week after week, you're a really good you're a good football team. It's just like Indiana last year. Indiana was a very good team last year. They had the schedule that they had. Of course, they could have scheduled better non-conference games. The Big Ten teams that they had last year, they had Washington and Michigan. The year before, Washington and Michigan were both in the national championship game. Nobody thought that Michigan and Washington would both take a step back next year. It just so happens that they did last year, the year after they went to the national championship game. Indiana clobbered everybody. That's what Utah is doing this year. I think we also got to look at those type of resumes and tip the cap to the team that consistently beats up on people. Look, last year, Alabama, which a lot of people believe they should have been in the playoffs. Well, you lost to you lost to Oklahoma 24-6, and you look brutal on that game. You lost to Vanderbilt. Indiana would not have lost those games. Utah is beating teams right now that are in a way that a lot of teams would not be able to do. Utah is a very good football team. Are they in the playoffs right now? No. Because they lost to BYU. They lost to Texas Tech. And they don't really have a very good opponent, not a great opponent, to improve their stock the rest of the year. Things are going to have to bounce just right for the Utes. And I think 13's a little too high. But I think Utah is in the mix. And they should be in the mix. Because they've dominated. When you've dominated, that has to mean something. If a G16 beats a Power 4 team in the first round, that loss might cost the coach their job. Hopefully not. But things are crazy right now. Okay, let's take a look at the teams just outside of the playoffs. Texas, Oklahoma, and of course, Utah, Louisville, and Vanderbilt. And Georgia Tech and Miami. Just outside of the playoffs, Texas and Oklahoma, right? Because of the G6, G5 representative, right? And you got to put the ACC champ in there. If you notice, Duke is not even listed in the top 25, and they shouldn't be, but they have a very good opportunity to win the ACC championship. Texas and Oklahoma would not make the playoffs at this point in time. They would not make the playoffs. They'd be the next two teams out. So let's take a look at what Texas and Oklahoma has remaining. And we talked about this this weekend. Okay, this thing's not working. Hold on. This thing's not working. Okay. So Oklahoma now, if you take a look at it here, they are number 12 and Texas is number 11. And the disadvantage, now there are a lot of metrics to look at. The one is the head-to-head, and Oklahoma has a disadvantage in the head-to-head with Texas, of course, as they lost to Texas 23-6. Let's take a look right? You got Texas, Oklahoma losing to Texas, Oklahoma losing to Ole Miss. They've got Alabama a couple of weeks from now. Then they play Missouri and LSU. I don't think that Oklahoma makes the playoffs if they lose to Alabama. I don't think they're going to make it. I think they are a better candidate to make it. A better candidate to make it than an Alabama, Ole Miss, or South Carolina of last year when they all finished 9-3. They beat a Michigan team 24-13. They would need to beat Alabama because they're not going to have a big enough wins. And they're going to be 9-3 if they lose to Alabama. So I happen to think that Alabama takes Oklahoma out. Now, if the Sooners beat Alabama, then the Sooners are going to make it if they win the 2 home games at the end of the season. Because they're still not going to go to the SEC championship game. They're going to finish 10-2 and they're going to make the playoffs. So for the 5-team SEC, to have 5 teams in it, this is the scenario, one of the scenarios that could happen. Oklahoma beating Bama. I just don't think it's going to happen. I believe that Bama eliminates Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma makes it in as a 9-3. I don't think an Oklahoma team at 9-3 with their biggest win over Michigan. I don't think that team makes it over an 11-2 BYU. I don't think a 9-3. I just don't think Oklahoma's going to make it. Now, let's take a look at Texas. Texas, for me, is a bigger wild card than Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's pretty clear cut. If they win the last 3 games, they're in at 10-2. They're going to push out a Big 12 team or even a Big 10 team. But a Texas Longhorn, they lost to the Buckeyes 14-7. They lost to Florida 29-21. The Buckeye loss doesn't hurt them at all. The Florida loss does hurt them. The biggest win on the season is Vanderbilt, which just happened last week. Oklahoma, 23-6. Vanderbilt, 34-31. The Longhorns are on the edge. But they're going to have to do more. And they've got Georgia, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. The question is, can a 9-3 Texas make the playoffs? Let's say they beat Texas A&M at home. They lose to Georgia, they beat Arkansas, and they beat Texas A&M. Does that 9-3 Texas team make the playoffs? Defeating Texas A&M, only losing to the Buckeyes by 7, losing to Georgia, and let's say it's a close game. A 9-3 Texas, I believe, can make the playoffs. A 9-3 Oklahoma team cannot. A 9-3 Tennessee team cannot. I believe a Vanderbilt 10-2 team can make the playoffs. I think a 10-2 Vanderbilt, 11-2 BYU is going to be crazy tight. And that's why I've got them lined up together. I don't think a 9-3 Oklahoma can do it. But a 9-3 Texas team, I think can. But they're going to have, Utah lose a game. They're going to have Louisville spin out. They're going to have Vanderbilt lose to Tennessee. Texas, a 9-3 Texas team is probably going to have a little help But I think a 9-3 team, the Longhorns can make it in. The Utah Utes, we've talked about it. If they win the last 3 games, they need the ball to bounce perfectly to get in the playoffs. Virginia, Louisville, Vanderbilt, we've covered all that. Let's get to your phone calls. Enough of me blabbing away. Very, very, very interesting. And again, all this is going to change just a little bit after this week's games, which we're going to go through here. But let's open up the phone lines. 763-260-1333. Let me know what you think about the playoff selection rankings of last night. 763-260-1333. Let me know what y'all are thinking.
Call from
Christopher Hooter.
Christopher Hooter, can you just hold on for a moment, please?
Yes, sir. Just say when.
I appreciate it very much. We've got breaking news. On3 reports that Michigan will no longer play in Germany versus Western Michigan to start the 2026 season. The school announced the game will be held in Ann Arbor. Now, first of all, let me go through this real quick. Let me go through the reporting. The Wolverines explored playing an international game in Frankfurt, Germany, but decided to keep the game in Ann Arbor. Okay, I don't know, guys. It would be just pure speculation on my part, but let's just put it this way: the Big Ten would like for there to be some international play among its universities. But Michigan, they just said no to the public capital deal. They pulled their repeal away from the county stallions thing. Michigan may not be wanting to play ball with the Big Ten right now. So we're not going to Germany. We're keeping our game in Ann Arbor. Christopher Hooter, thanks for your patience. The floor is yours.
Well, I'm changing the subject here a little bit.
That's fine.
Is it Spanberger? Is that her name? And Jones won.
Yes.
So, what are you thinking?
We're thinking that the SEC. The ability for the Southeastern Conference presidents to get one of their top 2 targets, which is the University of Virginia, is slipping away because politically it's going to be mighty difficult because Spanberger and Jay Jones, who are going to be your next governor and attorney general in the state of Virginia, are going to support, according to what we're being told, are going to support the faculty most likely, and they're not going to be for any type of move to the Southeastern Conference. Plus, Spanberger is going to be able to switch up the board of visitors, and there are going to be people. There's going to be a change in direction and philosophy at the board of visitors at the University of Virginia. So, at the best, the Southeastern Conference is a 5-month window to act. And they're probably not going to be able to act on it because we still got all these other big issues that are floating around that the SEC doesn't control altogether anyway. So the Virginia to the Southeastern Conference is slipping away.
Unless it's a twofer.
And it ain't going to be a twofer.
I don't think it is either.
No.
Yeah.
Southeastern Conference ain't going to do that. Nope.
Virginia Tech. So where does that leave North Carolina?
Great question. Great question. Are we is the North Carolina obviously that's the number one target for the Southeastern Conference, and does that open up a different, it has to open up a different type of blend combination? Does that open up a North Carolina Clemson? Does that open up a North Carolina Duke? Does that open up a North Carolina Clemson, Florida State Duke? I don't know, but we're going to be looking at it. We're going to be talking with people. But the Virginia thing is a it's a game changer, and we'll see what the effect of that has on North Carolina, if any at all. I don't really have an answer to any of that today.
So does Virginia understand the implications if North Carolina leaves without them? Wherever North Carolina goes, assuming they go somewhere, let's just say the SEC.
Yep.
Well, where does that leave Virginia in the ACC? I mean, that weakens the ACC. I don't know how if you have an opportunity to go with North Carolina, and you don't go, seems to me that is a failure, an epic failure of fiduciary responsibility. I'd fire them all.
Sure, but
right?
Sure, but
I don't care what the faculty wants.
I get it, but now that the faculty is going to have an ally with the governor and the attorney general, who both graduated at the University of Virginia, I think it would. I think it's going to push. I think most likely it's going to push Virginia into the column of the Big Ten if North Carolina pulls the trigger and goes to the Southeastern Conference with a different combo, different partner. I think then Virginia becomes going to the Big Ten very likely. I only can tell you guys what I'm being told, and that is a Spanberger, Board of Visitors, Jay Jones, Virginia ain't going to the Southeastern Conference unless the Southeastern Conference acts mighty quickly once the permanent president is announced, most likely in December. Southeastern Conference still has a window of time. We've talked about it, this 5-month window. But this window is going to close. And I don't think how do I say this? There's so many things going on, Christopher. I don't think the Southeastern Conference can act on any of this right now anyways. So I think it's going to slip away. I think Virginia, I think here at PATC, we are going to be switching up our predictions because of what just happened politically in the state of Virginia.
So you're saying you got a UVA kind of longer term lean Big Ten now.
Yes.
You probably still have North Carolina in the SEC camp.
Which is crazy. Which is kind of crazy because those two universities are so very close with each other.
Right? Why wouldn't you stay with your partner, whichever way, right?
Yeah, I mean, but the people that are in place on the ground at Chapel Hill, lean SEC, and they're still in place. They're still in place. The people at Virginia, Charlottesville, were in place, but now they're going to get replaced. So that again, that's why we spend so much time on what is happening on the ground, because it's one of the determining factors. Not all, but it's one of those things that you got to keep an eye on. And Virginia is about. If you look, and I'm not going to do this. I've already done it, but I'm not going to do this in public. I'm not going to do it on my show. But if anyone wants to take time, just take a look at the Board of Visitors right now. Google it. Take a look at the 24 names. And then compare that to the 24 names of the Board of Visitors in 2000 and let's say 19. Take a look at those 24 names. Completely two different sets of government, culturally, interests, absolutely two different slates of individuals. The same thing is going to happen on the Board of Visitors here starting June 1st of this year. It's going to change drastically. The Board of Visitors at the University of Virginia has the power of conference affiliation for the University of Virginia. And the SEC had people in place that had their interests at heart, but those people are going to start leaving their spots because they're going to get replaced by the governor of the state of Virginia. And there ain't going to be an attorney general that's going to be a check on this governor and the Board of Visitors like it would have been if Mararis, or whatever you pronounce his name, would have won, but he lost. So that is why we took time talking about it yesterday. So anyways, go ahead, sir.
Okay, well, all right. So, but either way, they're probably going to split from Virginia Tech, whichever way they go. Okay, so I was kind of thinking they were just going to try to stay in the ACC and make it work.
They could. They could.
But we still believe that UNC is kind of leaning to leave probably to the SEC.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. Well, I was just checking in. I wanted to see what the great Obi-Wan had to say. So.
You got it, buddy. I appreciate the phone call, sir. Go Tigers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, we got an AD.
Yes,
you do. We're in business.
You got everything now, except for a coach. You're ready to rock and roll.
Give us another month. Month.
Appreciate it.
See you, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye.
Great call by Christopher Hooter. Appreciate it. We got another super chat. Ken of the Mainer. Look out, Ken of the Mainer.
From
Evil Badger.
Evil Badger, Ryan Willie, my friend. Can you hold on for a moment, please?
Yes.
I appreciate it so very much. Kenneth the Mainer, Spanberger and her UVA academic friends don't want to associate themselves with the unwashed rubes of Mississippi, Alabama. How they feel, not me. Yeah, I mean, if people want to put it that way, but I wouldn't put it that. I'm not going to be that. But yes, essentially there might be some truth in that. But Kenneth Maynard, thank you for the $5 holler. I do very much appreciate it so very much. Hold on one second here. Ryan Willie, if you can, I apologize. I got to clean something up here. Hold on. And then there's one more comment I want to get to. Everybody, give me a moment here. Give me a moment. All right. Nick Kelso, can you hold on for just a second more, Ryan Willie?
Yes.
I thank you. I apologize, sir. Nick Kelso. Greg has Virginia has fallen out of favor to join the SEC, while McIver has Virginia fallen out of the Big Ten as Notre Dame's partner in favor of joining the SEC. I don't know what McIver said. I have no idea what he's saying. I don't know anything about a Virginia Notre Dame partner, and Virginia doesn't have any leadership right now. They do have a board of visitors that lean strongly to the Southeastern Conference. The board of visitors is going to be naming a permanent president here pretty soon. That's probably going to share their interests, but there is a sea change in the governance of Virginia, which is going to have a sea change in the board of visitors. And I don't know what McIver's saying on that, but thank you, Nick Kelso. Go ahead, Evil Badger, Ryan Willie. What is going on, sir?
Hi, Greg. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it, buddy.
I have a couple questions for you. With Michigan now backing out of their game with Western Michigan, I believe, in Germany.
Yes.
Well, it was announced today that the Badgers are starting to sell ticket packages to the game in Ireland in 2027. So it's going to be week 0, and I believe it's August 28th of 2027. So with Michigan backing out and Michigan not being in the good graces of the Big Ten right now, would they ever leave the Big Ten?
Michigan?
Yes.
I don't think so. I mean, forever is a very long time, so I would not say for. Well, they can't. They're not going to lead the Big Ten until 2037. First of all, unless they want to go and take the Big Ten to the courts, because the grant of rights go to 2036. Michigan has been the Big Ten university. I mean, they are the essential Big Ten university. I mean, they are. I don't know where they would go. I have no idea what they would be.
I doubt the SEC.
They're not going to go to the Southeastern Conference. Michigan will not even vote for about 12 or 13 of the Southeastern Conference schools to join the Big Ten. So there's no way they would join the Southeastern Conference. Now, would Michigan join some sort of super elite super league of some SEC and some Big Ten schools? Maybe. But that would be their only option.
Okay, so the problem I see with the Super League thing is that all these top schools will start taking losses. Because if you only got the top teams playing each other, a lot of those teams are going to take a lot of L's and not be as profitable as they were before this league began. But my other question is, okay, so I admit I believe that Fickle will survive this year and play or coach in 2026. Do you believe that he will be head coach week 1 against Pitt in 2027?
Luke Fickle?
Yes.
No, I think 2026 will be his last ride. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think that'll be it.
All right. Well, that's all I had.
You got it, buddy.
Thanks for taking my call.
All
right,
I appreciate it. Thanks for your patience, Evil Badger. Christopher Hooter, Super Chat. Thank you, Christopher. Christopher Hooter should have asked SEC Little Scoop now. Possibly. Possibly. They might do the blend among 2 schools instead of 4 schools, right? You know, North Carolina, Virginia, Florida State, Clemson, that theory, my prediction was not, which was not a report, was the blend, right? You get the blend of what the Southeastern Conference presidents wanted and what the media partner would want. But without Virginia, maybe there is a Southeastern Conference little scoop might be in play, where a North Carolina, Clemson is your blend. A North Carolina, Florida State is your blend. A North Carolina, yeah, those two could be Christopher Hooter, could be absolutely. Again, see that the thing is, as we talk about this, nothing is settled, nothing is done. There's a lot of positioning going on, but there is no ability for anybody to pull the trigger on anything because we've got all this other stuff going on. I mean, nobody. The number one issue for Petiti and Sankey and Yarmark and Phillips, but let's just talk about the P2. The number one issue for them is to do all they can to get the settlement, House versus NCAA, to get that settlement codified by hook or by crook. You had all the conference sign off on that settlement. You've got all these millions of dollars of pushing Congress. You've got the SCORE Act that might be getting a little bit more traction now. You're going to have this compromise with the SAFE Act in the Senate. The number one mission, and we're just talking Power 2 right now, for Sankey and Petiti is to get this thing codified. And then the number 2 mission is to expand the playoffs in a way that they both find value in. Then it's the conference expansion. But we're not close to that. That's why nothing is imminent. Nothing is imminent. Nothing. If it is, then I'm going to come up on here and give you, take the big L. I would have to apologize. There are reasons. So that's a long way of answering yes. I mean, the little scoop could potentially be a lot of things. We're going to have to, this is going to shake the board up a little bit. Just like if the Big Ten was able to get that public capital investment deal, that would have shaken up the board a little bit. A lot of things can shake up the board a little bit. Politics can shake up the board a little bit. And we just witnessed that in Virginia. Yes, we do have breaking news, by the way. We do have breaking news. Breaking news, Brett McMurphy, Auburn and Notre Dame at a home-and-home series. Sources told On3 Sports, 2027, it's going to be at Auburn. 2028, it's going to be at Notre Dame. Auburn and Notre Dame at a home-and-home series. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Big breaking news. Big breaking news. Let me know what your thoughts on that is. Phone lines are open, 763-260-1333, 763-260-1333. Okay, I'm just reading a couple reports here. It's starting to feel like ESPN is trying to ensure Notre Dame doesn't break. Oh, yeah. Notre Dame is, yeah, that's been going on for a while. Been going on for years. It's not going to be Notre Dame to the SEC, but SEC is so scared of Notre Dame going to the Big Ten. Yeah. What's up, Big Gun Shop? Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. Alrighty, guys. I guess we'll close this thing up. Nobody else seems to want to give us a call. We have covered our reaction to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee's rankings, CFP Rankings reaction on November 5th on a Wednesday. Yeah, it's those were the rankings. Buckeyes number 1, Hoosiers number 2, A&M number 3, Alabama 4, Bulldogs, Ole Miss, BYU, Texas Tech, Oregon, Notre Dame, top 10. We went through it, and I think the committee did a pretty good job. I don't have any major problems with it. I think Miami was treated a little too harshly. Louisville, maybe a little too harshly. But overall, I think they basically got it correct. No big problems with it. This would be the playoffs if it began today, which it doesn't. We've got 4 more weeks of football during the season, and so much is going to change as the weeks go on. And again, tomorrow, we are going to be making our picks against the spread. Usually, we do that on Wednesday. But we're going to do it this week, tomorrow, Thursday, November 6th. So join us tomorrow, Thursday, November 6th. We make our picks against the spread here in week number 11. I want to thank those who have donated to our program to help us keep the lights on. Doc Gibbs, Ryan Willie, Kenneth Maynard, Expedition Greg, Cope. I appreciate it. Christopher Hooter, appreciate all you guys for donating to our channel. I want to thank the phone calls, the great comments that we have received. This has been our coverage of the reaction to the College Football Playoff Selection first release of the rankings. We got 3 more to go. I think it was a pretty good job. I think they did a pretty decent job. I cannot wait for these games this weekend. We'll see you all tomorrow, Thursday, making our picks against the spread. Until then, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family,